If you've ever felt invisible in your own marriage, this story is for you. I'm Claire, and on the night of our 12th wedding anniversary, my husband stood up and announced, without warning, that his mother was moving in with us. Right there, in front of our guests. But what he didn't know, I had my own announcement. One that would leave his controlling mother speechless. And finally force him to see the damage he'd ignored for years. This isn't just a revenge story, it's about reclaiming your voice. If you love true emotional stories, don't forget to subscribe and stay till the end. I never thought I'd be the woman who planned an escape from her own marriage, but here we are. I'm Claire. I am 38 years old, mother of 2 wonderful kids, and wife of Matt for the past 12 years. On paper, our life looked like something out of a Hallmark movie. We had the 2-story house, holiday family photos with color-coordinated outfits, and matching coffee mugs that said Mr. and Mrs. But what the pictures never showed was the third person in our marriage, my mother-in-law, Sandra. Sandra was the kind of woman who smiled sweetly while stabbing you with compliments. "Oh, Claire, you've really learned to cook well, your first few meals were so brave." Or "I didn't know your family had money for college. How impressive." From the day I met her, Sandra made it clear, I was not the daughter-in-law she'd envisioned. She expected Matt to marry someone more obedient. Someone who knew her place and wouldn't challenge her wisdom. Unfortunately for Sandra, I was raised to be independent, to speak up, and to protect my peace. Matt, on the other hand, was a mama's boy in denial. It wasn't all bad at first. When we were newlyweds, I honestly thought I could win Sandra over. I sent her flowers on her birthday, invited her over for dinner, laughed politely at her awkward jokes. But her comments grew sharper, her criticisms more personal, especially after our kids were born. Once, she jokingly told my 5-year-old daughter that her curly hair was wild and messy just like mommy's moods. Another time, she asked my son if he wanted to live with grandma instead, where the food's always good and nobody yells. I was stunned. Furious. But Matt? He just laughed and told me not to take it seriously. "She doesn't mean any harm, babe. That's just how she is." And that line, "that's just how she is," became the excuse for every insult, every boundary crossed, every time I cried into a pillow while he turned on the TV. I tried. God knows I tried. But Sandra saw kindness as weakness, and over time, I realized she wasn't going to change. The final straw came when she stayed over just for a weekend and ended up living in our guest room for 3 weeks, without discussing it with me. She cleaned out my spice rack because no real cook uses that many spices. She rearranged our linen closet. She did laundry and shrunk 2 of my favorite sweaters. And then, she opened my laptop while I was out, looking for photos, she claimed, and accidentally deleted an entire folder of my freelance work. That project was worth over $1,500. Gone. Matt was furious. At me. "Why didn't you back it up?" he snapped. She didn't mean to. That night, I cried harder than I had in years. Not because of the files, not even because of Sandra, but because I saw it clearly for the first time, Matt wasn't going to protect me. So I did what I had to do, I started protecting myself. I opened a separate bank account. I started saving every dollar I could from my freelance work. I stopped telling Matt everything. I created space. Mentally. Emotionally. And I started therapy. My therapist was the one who asked me the life-changing question, "Do you want to stay, or are you just scared to leave?" That question haunted me. I decided to stay, for a while. For the kids. For the hope that maybe Matt would wake up. But I was done being helpless. I started browsing real estate listings. Just looking. At first. And then I found it, a cozy 3-bedroom townhouse in a quiet neighborhood, 20 minutes away. It had a little garden, a sunlit kitchen, and most importantly, peace. I toured it. I loved it. And when the moment came, I signed. All in my name. I didn't tell a soul. Fast forward to our 12th anniversary. We threw a party at our home. I cooked all day. Matt helped decorate. Sandra came over early, of course, and criticized the table settings. "You know, if you'd used real china instead of these rustic plates, it would look more elegant." I bit my tongue. Just one more day, I told myself. After dinner, with everyone gathered around the cake, Matt stood up to make a toast. "Claire, thank you for 12 amazing years," he said with a grin. "And I'm excited for what's next. Because we have a special announcement tonight, my mom is moving in with us next month." The room clapped. Sandra sniffled dramatically, clutching her wine glass. My hands were shaking, but not from shock. I was beyond that. Matt hadn't asked, hadn't mentioned it. Just decided. As if my opinion didn't matter. So I stood up. "Actually, I have a surprise too." I reached into my handbag and pulled out the folder. "I closed on a new home last week. Just for the kids and me." Silence. "This is the address, the keys, and the official deed. It's in my name. We'll be moving next Friday." You could hear a pin drop. Matt's face went pale. "Claire. What?" "You didn't ask me about your mother moving in, so I didn't feel the need to ask you about moving out," I said, calm and steady. "You made a decision without me. I'm just returning the favor." Sandra gasped like she'd just watched a Shakespearean betrayal. "How dare you make a scene on your own anniversary," she hissed. But I didn't even look at her. I looked straight at Matt. "I've spent years being silent. Years being told to let it go, to not take it seriously. I warned you. I asked for help. And when you chose your mother's comfort over mine, I chose peace." I left the room. Head high. Tears in my eyes, but not weakness. Release. The next week was surreal. I packed. The kids were confused, but I explained gently. I told them Mommy and Daddy needed space to be better parents. They loved the new house. It was smaller, cozier, but it felt lighter, like a place where my soul could breathe again. Matt tried calling, texting, showing up. At first, I ignored him. Then I agreed to talk. He cried. He told me he didn't realize how much he had failed me. That he thought he was keeping the peace by staying out of it, not realizing he was actually fueling the chaos. He had told Sandra she was moving in without ever thinking I'd object, because, in his mind, I always swallowed it. I always adjusted. And he assumed I always would. But I was done adjusting. I was done shrinking. Therapy began. Separately at first, then together. Sandra wasn't welcome anymore. Matt told her that directly. She didn't take it well, of course, claimed I was tearing the family apart. But this time, Matt didn't let it slide. "No, Mom," he told her. "You did that all by yourself." It took months. But slowly, we rebuilt. And I saw something I hadn't seen in years: respect. Matt didn't just apologize, he changed. He listened. He unlearned the habits he'd absorbed from a lifetime of letting his mother dominate. He became present. He showed up. And one evening, 6 months after I moved out, he asked if he could come home, not to the old house, but to the new one. Ours. We're still working on it. It's not a fairy tale. But I feel heard. I feel safe. And Sandra? She hasn't stepped foot in my home since that night. So, if you're wondering whether standing up for yourself ruins relationships, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, it saves them. And sometimes, it's the best revenge of all. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We share real stories of emotional strength, family drama, and unforgettable revenge, every day. Your support helps bring more voices like Claire's to life. See you in the next one.